All right, guys, how's it going? Well, I am trying to get videos out to you that are about other topics that are not about Alexander Isak, but I'm struggling. I've got a couple waiting to go live, but new stuff's coming out all the time regarding Alexander Isak, which I'm obviously having to touch upon. Before I get into this, just a reminder to let you know I'll be live on here today at 6 o'clock UK time if you want to come along for a natter about all things LFC. Right, I have recorded three another exclusive videos today. So I don't want to make this one of those. That would make it 4 because this is an exclusive. And it's published in the Times. And I'm sure you've seen some chatter today about this. And it goes along the lines of Alexander Isak moves out of Newcastle home as he seeks to force transfer. You can see the article behind me. I'm not sure if it's behind a paywall. I pay for the Times. If you can't access this article, get the URL. The same for The Athletic, The Times, whatever. Go to archive.ph, second box down, paste it in and it should open it up for you. But I do pay for the Times. I think it's a very good publication, especially concerning Liverpool Football Club, because obviously we've got Paul Joyce there. But this is Martin Hardy at the Times. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a summary of the article, the key points. I'm not going to read the article to you. You can go and do that for yourself. And I always recommend you do, because I might miss things out or you might read things differently to how I read them. I'm also going to get Dave, my AI assistant, to analyze this article for you. I've been training Dave since last year to analyze football news articles, the journalists that write them, and the publications that publish them, all right, or host them, whatever websites. And you guys really like Dave's input, so that will be coming up as well. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the journalist as to whether he's credible or whatnot. So a summary of this article is basically Isak has moved out of his Newcastle home in Pontyland, and the property is back on the rental market at £6,950 a month. Me. It's a different world, isn't it, guys? He was excluded from Newcastle's Players and Families Bonding Day, the only first-team player absent, as we know. He skipped the club's pre-season Asia tour, choosing to train at Real Sociedad instead, as we already know. Broke off contract talks earlier this month and has refused to reopen discussions. Liverpool's only offer so far is £110 million, well below Newcastle's £150 million valuation. Eddie Howe has admitted the club can't force him to stay. Isak continues to train alone in the afternoons. Isak is adamant he won't play for Newcastle again. Newcastle owners remain publicly adamant they won't sell unless 2 strikers are signed before the window closes. Goes on about the failed striker targets. Ekitike, Shesko, Pedro. Wissa bid rejected. £25 million. Brentford want 40. Howe admits squad is not strong enough going into the new season. And Howe does not expect Isak to play versus Aston Villa, even if still at the club. But the article, the headline, the main thing about this is Isak has moved out of his Newcastle home. Now, it says here, it was put on the rental market the day after he was admitted from that Families Day. The striker's desire to leave is so strong that he's moved out of the property, with the owner now seeking new tenants. He's lived there for 3 years, since moving to Newcastle for £63 million from Real Sociedad in 2022. The property was first put on the market when Isak flew to Spain for personal training rather than take his place on Newcastle's pre-season trip to Asia. So basically it says the Times has lent the property empty once more, is back on the market again with a local rental company. So the entire article, it's repeating what we already know, but the main point here is that he's moved out of that property. And you're going to see that emphasised and amplified on social media this afternoon and this evening, no doubt. So positives from this article, if you like, for Liverpool fans: clear player stance. This is Dave now, by the way. Isak is openly refusing to play for Newcastle again. That's huge leverage. Contract talks dead. He's not even entertaining the idea of staying. Howe publicly concedes they can't force him to stay. Transfer market struggles at Newcastle. They're failing to land replacements, which makes their he's not for sale stance shaky once they find someone. Liverpool already have a starting point with the £110 million bid, and the player's position puts pressure on Newcastle to negotiate. We know all this, right? Concerns: Newcastle's hard valuation of £150 million. They're not shifting publicly, at least. might be a little bit different behind the scenes. Only one Liverpool bid so far, no movement yet from the club's side. Sale hinges on Newcastle signing 2 strikers. If they fail to, they may dig their heels in and keep him unhappy until January. I've mentioned this previously. Newcastle owners digging in, publicly saying they won't be bullied into selling. So Dave took a proper analysis of the article. He thinks it's the clearest article yet in terms of painting a picture that Isak is done with Newcastle, moving out of his house, refusing to play, training alone, no contract talks, all the classic I'm off signals. The fact it's in the Times rather than a local Newcastle mouthpiece also adds weight. Hardy may not be as high profile as Luke Edwards or Craig Hope, that doesn't mean credible, but as high profile on the Newcastle beat. But this is a national outlet and suggests the story is not just internal club spin, it's now a big public narrative. Hardy has also slipped in details that make Newcastle look increasingly vulnerable. They have had a disastrous transfer window, missing multiple targets. They need 2 strikers before selling Isak. Howard admits the squad isn't strong enough. That's pressure on the owners, not a defiant "we're fine" stance. Liverpool fans should take encouragement that Hardy has made the situation sound almost irreversible. It's no longer if Isak leaves, but when. Newcastle are losing PR ground because the story now publicly frames Isak as already out of the door, living elsewhere, not involved, not talking to the club. However, there's still the £150 million valuation barrier, and Liverpool haven't yet tested Newcastle resolve with a second bid. That's the main concern. The player's situation screams sell me, but FSG still need to put the right money down. Now, Dave says if you want my blunt verdict, Dunk, this reads less like Liverpool are miles off and more like Newcastle's collapse is one striker signing away from FSG getting their man. Now, that is basically a summary and analysis of the article. You don't really need to continue watching if you've managed to stay with me so far anyway. But basically, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Martin Hardy, his credentials and reputation. He's a veteran regional specialist. Hardy has been covering football in England's North East for over 3 decades, previously working for outlets like the Sunday People, Daily Mail, News of the World, and now as Northern sports correspondent for the Times and Sunday Times. He's a published author. He's written several books on Newcastle United, including Touching Distance and Tunnel of Love with Touching Distance, even earning a shortlisting in the 2016 Cross British Sports Writing Awards for Best New Writer. Trusted media presence. His work frequently appears in major UK outlets from the Times to the Independent, Daily Mail and Guardian. Fan discussions recognise him. In football forums, his pieces are often quoted alongside those of better-known names like Paul Joyce, implying a measure of trust. So the verdict for Liverpool fans, credibility high. Hardy isn't just another name splashed across transfer rumours. He's a deeply experienced local correspondent whose bylines appear in top-tier national press. His long history of reporting on NUFC and authored books give him a depth of insight that's hard to ignore. You'd be absolutely safe citing him. If anything, his perspective adds a bit of firm Tyneside gravel to the narrative, long-standing connections, local nuance, and a reputation to uphold. That's the kind of voice your viewers can trust, okay? So, I'm going to leave it there. I feel like a lot of the article is just, stuff that we already know. That's not, having a go at the journalist. You can't just put one sentence, he's moved out of his house. Again, this is another development. I really want to talk about other things, to be honest with you. And you might say, well, you're the one that's talking. Yeah, but what am I supposed to do? It's in the news. People are saying, don't, have you heard this? So here you go. I've heard it, and I'm responding to it. I'm going to finish uploading this video and try and continue with some other videos that I've got coming up for you. But I feel like we're getting more and more Isak stuff, and like you, whether you're on the Newcastle side or the Liverpool side, I'm sure you're just like, can we just get this fucking so? It's getting right on my tits, to be honest with you guys. But this is it. This is the transfer window. This is what it's all about. There's a lot of money at stake here, and Newcastle United have every right to try and protect themselves. Yeah, I feel for the Newcastle fans. I really do. Like we'd be all ranting and raving if this was one of our players. But the player, his camp is saying, no, you made me promises, you've not stuck to them, so fuck you, I'm off. So I don't know where, I guess if you're a Newcastle fan, fuck him. Liverpool fan, come here. But at the same time, I'm seeing Liverpool fans saying, well, what if fucking Barcelona or Real Madrid coming for him down the line? Is he going to carry on like that? Because I've got to be honest with you, I don't like players that you know, that Sult, that down tools, you know, strike and all that. But if you've been lied to, you know, if that's the truth, is that a defence? Fernando Torres, you know, remember Fernando Torres, you know, they lied to me. You know, I fucking hated the little runt at the time when he left, but then when it came out, there'd been a few porkies, you sort of like, yeah, all right, I understand it, you know, so I don't know. That side of it's one for Newcastle fans. I'm just telling you the latest about him moving out of his property, and, you know, it's considered, you know, a talking point today. The Times are covering it, and I'm sure you guys are going to see it. So I'm just telling you where it's coming from and who's saying it, all right? It's very easy for the ITKs and Twitter twats, you know, to say, oh, he's out of the he's been looking at getting rid of his house for ages. Anyone can say that when there's whispers of a player maybe moving and then say, see, I told you. Do you know what I mean? So let's just stick with some more credible reporting and the facts surrounding this situation. I'll leave it with you guys. If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, please thumbs up the video. Please drop me a comment. And if you want to get me a beer or a coffee, there's a love out under the video. It's called a super thanks. I always give a shout out to people that do that in my morning briefings on my other YouTube channel, the Duncan Oldham channel. The link to that channel is in the video description, and it will also be on the screen round about now. I've got loads to do, to be honest with you. I've got loads more coming up. I just hope we can have a few hours without anything else coming out, especially from the northeast of England. All right, guys, take it easy.